This is the Capital One Venture X, and it is probably one of the most underrated premium travel cards out there. And that's because it has a solid intro bonus, benefits, and Capital One basically pays you to use it. Let me explain. So, starting off, the Capital One Venture X has a $395 annual fee, but immediately comes with a $300 travel credit, and 10,000 anniversary miles after your first year and every year you keep the card. Each mile is worth around 1 cent to travel, so those 10,000 miles are worth around $100. What this means is when you combine the anniversary miles with the $300 travel credit, it effectively gives you $400 a year worth of travel. This effectively makes the annual fee for the year negative $5, basically paying you $5 just to have the card. But that's not all. In addition to this, the Capital One Venture X also gives you a $100 credit towards Global Entry or TSA PreCheck. I personally love skipping the line with Global Entry, and this lasts for about 5 years. So we'll split that value up into about $20 per year, making the new effective annual fee $25 per year. Now for the other benefits, Capital One offers a solid intro bonus, lounge access, insurance protections, and spending categories for miles as well. First, the Venture X intro bonus is currently 75,000 miles when you spend $4,000 in the first 3 months of opening an account. These miles are equivalent to around half a cent per mile when you redeem them for cash back, and the full cent per mile when you redeem them for travel, making the 75,000 miles worth $750 of travel. Now, since this card allows you to earn 2x miles on everything, when you spend that $4,000, you should receive an additional 8,000 miles, bringing the effective intro bonus total to 83,000 miles, or $830 worth of travel. Comparatively, this intro bonus is pretty good since the Chase Sapphire Reserve has a pretty competitive intro bonus at 60,000 points, so less than Capital One, but for Chase, those points are worth around $900 because Chase values the reserve points at 1.5 cents per dollar. But compared to American Express, unless you get what's called a higher targeted intro bonus, the standard 80,000 points they offer for $8,000 is a lot less points for that higher amount required spend. Now, there is a way to get more value out of the miles, but I'll get to that later in this video. Also, if you want to take advantage of any of these welcome offers, I'll leave links in the description below. Next, let's talk about lounge access. There's good and there's bad. First, the good is that this card is one of the lowest costing card that has lounge access, and you get access to Priority Pass and Plaza Premium lounges. While they might not be as big as some of the other lounges, you will have access to over 1,000 lounges worldwide. But here's the bad. Other premium travel cards have their own lounges, and so does Capital One, it just has fewer in their own network. There's one in Dallas, Washington, and Denver, and one opening up in Vegas. But as of right now, that's it. I currently live in New York, so none of those really apply to me, but the thing that makes up for this gap in Capital One specific lounges is the cost of bringing guests into those lounges. For example, to bring a guest into the Centurion Lounge with American Express, it will cost you $50 unless you spend $75,000 a year on the Platinum card. But who the heck is spending $75,000 a year just on the Platinum card? However, with the Venture X, you're allowed to bring 2 guests into the lounges at no additional cost. So whether it's your significant other, kids, or even just a friend, you want to shell out $50 each time, or leave them waiting at the gate while you enjoy a drink in the lounge. Now, after your first 2 guests, there is a charge of $45 per guest. But I figured out a way around this. So basically, this card allows you to add 4 authorized users without an additional annual fee. And each one of those users is allowed to not only enter the lounge themselves, but they're also allowed 2 guests of their own, meaning that the total amount of guests that you could bring into the lounge with just 1 card is 15 people. Which is one of the things I love about this card. If it doesn't have one thing, it makes up for it by having another, like a lower annual fee or the ability to bring an entire bachelor or bachelorette party worth of people into your lounges. Next, and I don't think people talk about this enough, but the Capital One Venture X offers 3 main types of insurance. First, for car rentals, for example, just like with the other travel cards, the Venture X also has a rental collision damage waiver for any cars you rent with the card. Meaning that next time you go somewhere and are asked if you'd like to pay for rental insurance, you can always pop out this bad boy and say, nah, I've got it. Now, personally, I like to use my regular car insurance and my card just to make sure I'm double protected. So if your auto insurance covers rentals, this might not be a bad idea. The rules of your policy and Capital One's policy might cover different things, so always check to make sure you understand your terms. Next, in addition to the rental collision damage waiver, this card also comes with cell phone protection, which honestly I don't think enough people take advantage of, and that's because I think that most people don't even know that they have it. Now, when I first got this card, I thought, oh, this is probably only if you buy the phone with the card, then it's protected. But no, apparently all you have to do to activate the protection is pay your phone bill with the card, which is so much better. This protection covers lost and damaged phones up to $800, which is pretty good, seeing as most phone repairs that I've seen normally cost around $200 to $300 max. And replacing a phone, if you need to do that, should be under that $800 threshold. Third and lastly, this card comes with travel accident insurance, which luckily I haven't had to use yet, but this is still great to have, especially as a travel card. Next, let's talk about how to get more value out of your miles, which is by transferring your miles to transfer partners. Transfer partners allow you to change your Capital One miles to your airline miles, which can be 2 to 6 times the value. For example, on Virgin Atlantic, we can transfer your Capital One miles on a 1-to-1 basis, meaning each mile is worth 1 Virgin Atlantic mile. So let's say you want to travel from New York to London. This economy classic ticket would cost you $548, whereas with miles, your ticket would cost $152 with 10,000 miles, effectively making each mile worth almost 4 cents compared to your next highest option of 1 cent per mile when redeemed through the Capital One travel portal. Now, what if we wanted to redeem the miles for a slightly better seat, like this upper class seat priced at almost $4,000? With miles, it would only cost $982 plus 47,500 miles. In this case, we increase the value of each mile to 6 cents per mile, so you can see why these transfer partners are so amazing. Personally, I like to look at the transfer partners and compare the annual fee to the value of the intro bonus combined with those transfer partners. So if we take the same Virgin Atlantic example of 6 cents per miles with the 75,000 mile welcome offer, we can see that those miles are now worth an effective $4,500 worth of travel. And when you divide that by the annual fee of $395, it shows you that the intro bonus plus the transfer partners pays for an effective 11 years of the annual fee, which is just another way of estimating the actual value of the card. But one thing to keep in mind is this. I always get asked if you can get a second intro bonus if you just open up another Venture X, and unfortunately the answer is no. Capital One has very strict internal rules that prevent people from gaming the system. One of them being that the intro bonus is only 1 per customer, so even if you close out the card and open up another one, there isn't any way around it. With that said, Capital One has a few other rules you should know about, which will help you figure out which cards you should get, when to open them, and how many cards you can get. In addition to that, if you also have too many cards to open, there's a very strong likelihood that you'll also be rejected for this card. Capital One has a very specific customer in mind, and these rules help them to stay profitable, as someone with low credit or even high credit but a large amount of cards might not be profitable. In addition to these limitations, you should also know that Capital One normally only allows customers to have 2 cards open at a time. Meaning if you have another card open like the Capital One Quicksilver, you'll only be able to open 1 more card with Capital One. With that said, the only other card I like with the Capital One Venture X is the Saver One. The reason why is that even though the Saver One is a cash back card, when it's combined with the Venture X, the Saver One can be used as a miles card and combined with the Venture X's rewards as well as the travel portal. So while you can only get 2x on everything with the Venture X, 5x on flights, and 10x on hotels and rental cars all booked through the Capital One travel portal, with the Saver One you can get 3x on dining, grocery stores, popular streaming services, and entertainment. This is called the Capital One Duo, and it's a killer combination. The Saver One is also a $0 annual fee card, so by using it for food and entertainment with the Venture X as your travel and everything else card, you can really maximize the value out of your spend without actually spending more. And that leads me to something that you should start thinking about, which is that the Venture X might not actually be the card for you. But that's only because you probably don't know about these 6 best travel credit cards. Click here to learn about these cards that you need to consider today. See you next time. Bye.